Hello, this is the TradeSite U.S. Stocks and Futures Market Preview and U.S. Economic Data Roadmap for the week beginning Monday, August 12th, 2013, ending Friday, August 16th. Hope you've been having a great week trading. Hope you just had a great week trading. Charts, as usual, brought to you by eSignal 11. Here's a look at the S&P 500 daily chart. We'll start here. We'll do some analysis of the indices, look at some of the top trading stocks that we play with. Look at some of the intra-week action, intraday action from this last week, anything that we might have left behind, and then we'll look at the economic data coming out this week. There's a lot of it, and of course the main focus for this week will be that this is options expiration for August, at least primary options expiration. We'll talk about that another day. So here's the S&P 500 daily chart. We are now drifting away from that trend line that we've been watching for a long time. We came into last week expecting to head lower. We did. What I'd still like to do is get the 13 sell signal on the seeker, and because we got to 11 last Friday and then head lower, we have not gotten the 12 and 13th bar. We do not need to make new highs to do that, and in fact, because we kind of were down at our low on Wednesday, came back up a bit Thursday, it's really not hard. We could barely have to be up at all Monday and a little more than that Tuesday to get the 12th and 13th bar. That would be, I think, significant towards the market rolling over here, really giving us, this is a good time to get a signal after all the technicals we've seen of the market breaking that uptrend line, then retesting it. It'd be nice to get that kind of signal as well, and then we roll over. Here's the NASDAQ 100, which had a 13 sell signal last Thursday going into Friday, and was down this week. You can see the pink risk line again. Markets can be up a little bit to get us that 13 signal on the S&P as well. We don't have to break this risk line on the NDX to make that happen, so those numbers can work in sync. Here's the SOX was down again this week, closing actually at the lows. It's nice negative for the semiconductors and the biotechs as well. Here's Amazon. Came down and swept the month's lows and then bounced a little bit on Friday. It's going to be 8 bars down on the Amazon. Here's Google. Just looking at some of the stocks that we trade regularly. Google's been in a pretty narrow basing action range for a while now. Got a kind of cup and handle forming. I mentioned before that the next breakout here probably takes it up to 1,000. Here's Apple. And we talked about a signal in Apple this week. Got a couple signals. We had Comer 15-minute and Seeker 30-minute and this daily chart 9-bar setup. And that led to actually 2 real nice Apple calls this week on the short side that did well for us. We'll pull up the 30-minute chart real quick just to show you. This was that 13 sell signal on the 30-minute chart that came in Monday. Look at the risk line. We ran right into it at the open on Tuesday and rolled, and that gave us the first nice trade. We had another nice trade today on Friday. What's interesting about this, though, the reason I wanted to show you this is how important the Seeker tool is. Once again, here's the 1 to 9 setup phase for the move that leads to the 13 Seeker exhaustion sell signal. The low of the box of that 1 through 9 is your static trend line. That's this red line right here. And look how once we got the signal, we rolled over and came right back that line exactly. I mean, exactly. It's amazing. We basically closed on it on Friday. That is how important that level is, and only the Seeker tool can give it to you. I also wanted to point out that some might say, well, look, there was a 13 sell signal back here, and it really didn't lead to a roll in the market. Yeah, that's true, but look what's interesting about this setup. I think this is a real important point. The 1 to 9 setup phase here actually had more range than the entire count that got you to the 13, the 1 to 13. I like to see some extension on the 1 to 13, and that's what we got here on the second one. Was the 1 to 9 goes right here, and this gives you the extension to 13. And that's a little more extended, and that's when the 13, I think, is a little more valid. So I don't really look at something like this where it's basically flat action to get to a 13 sell signal as being all that interesting of a signal. But at any rate, so those are some of the daily charts heading into the new week. I did want to discuss some of the intra-week action here. Actually, I apologize. Let me put that back for 1 second because I did want to show you both gold on the daily chart. Not doing a lot, but it's still in its downtrend. Did get an up day on Thursday, and I wanted to show you oil really quick as well, which got a bounce. We're still at that time of year, where oil's fluctuates to the upside more than the downside, based on the heat and based on concerns over hurricanes and disruptions and all that stuff. So that's what you're seeing on oil. NASDAQ futures in 10-minute bars for the week, the NQs, opened on Monday right here. actually maybe a couple bars before that. And of course, we ended up closing last week at 31.16 and this week at basically 31.15. So we lost 1 point on the NASDAQ futures for the week. Amazing. We did leave a gap barely behind. Okay, if you look at this close on Tuesday, we didn't quite get there to fill that gap. Other than that, all the gaps are filled that would have occurred during the week, including the gap up on Thursday. We filled that one right here. The gap down on Wednesday, we filled that one barely right there. And there really wasn't a gap per se on the NASDAQ side here on Friday, so there wasn't anything to do there. But overall, the week had about 50 points of range, 50 ticks of range, 50 handles of range, sorry, whatever you want to call it. And it's not huge, but it's not poor either. Volume was really bad on Monday, if you'll recall. Barely saw, I think it was one of the lightest volume days of the year. It was really painful to trade on Monday. But we got better volume Tuesday, better volume Wednesday, better volume Thursday, which was nice to see. So here's a look at the ES. These are the 5 days on the ES for the week. It was kind of a down week for the ES. Let's take a look at the gaps. Gapped down Monday, filled that gap. Gap down Tuesday, we have not yet filled that gap. Gap down Wednesday, we did fill it when we gapped up Thursday. And the gap up Thursday we filled the same day. Friday, a small gap down that we filled inside the first 10 minutes of play. And for the week we lost about 18 points on the ES futures and the S&P 500. So not huge ranges. A couple of really narrow days. Again, Monday, like as you can see right here, very poor because the volume was so awful. Not much else to say there. The one thing I did want to point out though is this one gap that was not filled on the S&P and the ES right here from Tuesday's gap down, that could be what gets us our 13 sell signal, because all we have to do is head up. Remember, we basically need to close on Monday higher than 2 days back. Okay, so that's going to be right here where we close on Thursday. So we basically just would need to get up above about 1694 for the close on Monday to get our 12, and then on Tuesday, if we were to hold that level or get above back to this gap fill, that would definitely put us above Friday's close, which will be 2 bars back, and that would get us our 13 sell signal. So just be aware of that. That's what we're going to be watching for throughout the week. Now, economic data coming out this week. It is a busy week. This is brought to you by Briefing.com. And Monday, not much, just the Treasury budget in the afternoon. Tuesday, retail sales, import-export prices before the bell, and business inventories 30 minutes in. Those can move the market a little bit. And again, because it's the summer months, Mondays and Fridays are less exciting. This Friday in particular is going to be awful because of options expiration. Last Monday was horrible. So without the data on Monday, that's fine. But Tuesday, we got some data to get us going. Wednesday, MBA mortgage index, PPI, crude oil inventories. Not a lot, but the PPI is interesting. Thursday is the big one. Initial and continuing jobless claims and CPI. That could cause a gap along with Empire Manufacturing. Then net long-term tick flows, capacity utilization, and industrial production. That's all before the bell, and then the Philly Fed 30 minutes in, natty gas after. So that's a lot of data on Thursday. If we don't get options unraveling on Wednesday, because there's a lot of data coming out Thursday, then don't be surprised to see the options unraveling move on Thursday. As usual with the options unraveling move, we're looking for action that starts after the first hour's play. Usually we're concentrating on trading the first 90 minutes to 2 hours. On options unraveling, we really look at a move to start after the first hour's play and for volume to hold up while they unwind those positions. And then Friday, which is options expiration, probably not going to be a very exciting day. Housing starts building permits, preliminary productivity for Q2, unit labor cost, and then Michigan sentiment for August. So a lot of data this week. Again, the focus, CPI, options expiration. We'll see how it goes. We will be calling it in the lab and in the reports as usual for stocks and futures, concentrating a lot more on the stock side than the futures at the moment, just because the volume has been poor and the futures action has not been the technical type of action we like to see. But we hope to see you there. If you have any questions, please direct them to us through the website or through the Trading Lab. Have a good week and a good weekend.